Gospel of the Lord, September the 5th, 2013, Luke 5, 1-11. Now it happened that Jesus was standing one day by the lake of Gennesaret, with the crowd pressing round him, listening to the word of God. When he caught sight of two boats at the water's edge, the fishermen had got out of them and were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, it was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and pay out your nets for a catch." Simon replied, "Master, we worked hard all night long and caught nothing, but if you say so, I will pay out the nets." And when they had done this, they netted such a huge number of fish that their nets began to tear. So they signaled to their companions in the other boat to come and help them. When this came, they filled both boats to sinking point. When Peter, Simon, saw this, he fell at the knees of Jesus, saying, "Leave me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were completely awestruck at the catch they had made. So also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were Simon's partners. But Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid, for now on it is people you will be catching." Then bringing the boats back to land, they left everything and followed him. Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. This beautiful, beautiful part of the Gospel of Luke is vocational. The context is Jesus who wants to teach the people in Capernaum, the city where Simon had his house. And this happened a few days after he had gone into the house of Simon and cured his mother-in-law, Simon's mother-in-law. We see how the people is pressing Jesus because they want to be close to him. Perhaps they want to touch him. The thing is that they are pressing him. So he looks at one of the boats and he goes into one. The fishermen meanwhile were washing their nets. He asked Simon to put out a little from the shore, and then he was teaching the crowd from the boat without being pressed. When he finished, he asked Simon to go into deep water and pay out the nets for a catch. And Simon, perhaps out of respect for the master who had cured his mother-in-law, and out of respect for this same master whom he saw curing many people, says, "We worked hard all night long and caught nothing." He is the fisherman, the one who lives by fishing. The master is a master, a prophet perhaps, but certainly no fisherman. And even perhaps Simon at that time thought that it was useless. Rather, he knew that it would be useless to go out in the middle of the day, because the fisherman knew that when you want to catch fish with a net, which is not very big, you better do it in the night when the darkness helps you, so that the fish cannot perceive the shadow of your boat. And it's virtually impossible to catch anything with a small net midday when there is this big shadow of your boat due to the sun. But Simon has something very important. He decides, he says, "I will pay out the nets if you say so, based on your word." Perhaps Simon was getting ready to tell Jesus, "You see, Master, you told me to come out here, we came out, and we couldn't get anything." But suddenly, against all odds, against all nature, there comes something different, a signal, a miracle, an incredible catch. The nets began to tear, so they have to call their partners, and then both boats get to sinking point. And then again, Simon is honest, because he could have taken another reaction. How many times do we harden our heart, do we stiff our neck, and just simply do not want to acknowledge God's miracles? We could say, hey, look how lucky I am. Simon could have said that. Hey, look how lucky we got. But he is honest. He knows, and perhaps he even knew something inside him. Something that made him fall to the knees of Jesus, saying, "Leave me, Lord, I am a sinful man." Perhaps he thought that it wasn't going to happen like that. Anyway, we do not know that. We know the result. He is honest. Simon is honest and says and recognizes himself as a sinful man. But then the Lord, with these beautiful words, do not be afraid. Of course he knows that Simon is a sinner, as he knows that you and me are also sinners. He did not want to call the saints, because there are none. There are no saints before God. We all are sinners. So the Lord knows who he is calling. And in the end, he says, from now on, it is people you will be catching. Your net will be my word and your voice, your work. And then you will bring every chosen one into salvation. Everyone that wants to answer and hear, to hear and answer to this calling of God. And then finally this ending. Bringing their boats back to land, they left everything and followed him. Because when you meet Jesus Christ, he becomes simply irresistible. It is impossible not to fall in love with love himself. And it's so beautiful. Today, I ask you to feel inside yourself. Should you feel that God is calling you into the ministry, then do not hesitate. Do not be afraid. Follow the Master. Follow Jesus. We have to decide on two levels. The fundamental decision, which is to go, for everyone to go for God, and the way we want to live that decision. And that's a special calling for those who Jesus calls to the ministry, and a special calling too for those that Jesus calls to matrimony, to marriage. Let us be humble and honest, and let his beautiful voice inside our minds, inside our hearts, that he might bring us, that he might lead us through his path into heaven. God bless you all, brothers.